Now, that was recorded last night live from the Welsh Labour Club here, very close to Southwark where we are. Ray, what do you make of that? There's those Welshies celebrating.
Atrocious. Atrocious. We're all in this together. You know, when Wales play at the weekend, I'll be urging Chrissy's boys on. Over the line. I certainly will, yeah. Are they not British?
Of course they're British.
Well, then I will be urging Welsh to beat Belgium.
Well, good,
and my
good
dear
point.
friend Chris and his gang.
Yeah. Right, I wonder if he was cheering last night. Our very own Welshman, Mike Parry, joins us.
Oh, my word.
That was a great night for you last night, Mike, wasn't it? Were you one of them cheering?
I wasn't cheering at all, guys, because I am thoroughly Anglo-Saxon English, and it was almost a shameful sort of performance. The thing is, I don't know why everybody's surprised, because this was Roy Hodgson never given a job after Brazil anyway. It was always a huge gamble to think that he could revert from being one of the worst managers in the world in Brazil to one of the best in Europe. It didn't work. It was never going to work. And frankly, Mr. Hodgson's a decent man. I think you've got to blame the people at the FA who appointed him in the first place.
Mike, at times,
by 2 years.
At times in the game last night, it was clueless, wasn't it? Let's be honest. There was no thought, how do we break this side down? The goals were suckers. You know, a long throw, dear, oh dear. I thought we got over that part of the game. You know, if you can't defend that, there's something blooming wrong. But even at 2-1 down, you thought, okay, let's take stock here. Come on, let's break them down. We get the second one, we put them under pressure, we're going and win the game. Clueless.
Yeah, but to be honest, Al, in terms of blaming players, I always say, because I'm not a professional footballer, they must be confused by the system the managers ask them to work. But having said that, we all knew that one of the weapons that Iceland had in their armoury was the long throw, followed by the flick into the area, and every single England defender should have been well aware of that if they'd seen it in one video or read one newspaper yesterday morning warning everybody that this was Iceland's secret. But I just can't understand how we could have missed completely their one opportunity to score directly, which they'd already exercised in one of the games in the group already.
But Mike, when you go on a football field as well, you look after the opponent you're supposed to be looking after. When the throw comes in, Wayne doesn't look after the first header.
What was he supposed to?
He was designated to look after the young man on the edge of the box.
Well, that's mad, because have you seen the average height of the Icelandic team?
Well, I'm not too concerned about that, Mike. Before the game, they've given Arneson to Wayne Rooney on the edge of the box. Now, that's his job, to stop that first header coming in. On the second ball, you've got Kyle Walker, who lets the goal scorer run free. There is also another gentleman, the long-haired, I think it was Bugudson or Bunyarsson, coming into the back post, unopposed. He would have scored it as well. So we've got three players that are not doing their function.
They reacted to the flick on. He's going to win this problem. I'm gambling. I'm taking a chance.
I'm gambling.
Yeah.
You know,
we
thought Wayne was going to win the header. Somewhere along the line, Mike, it comes down to players as well. Mike, you work for the FA. Do you think the FA need to look at themselves a little bit in the way that they're appointing people or the way they're going about their own business?
Very much so. If you think the country's in chaos at the moment following Brexit, I can tell you the FA's in even worse chaos. When they get back today, dozens of people at the FA are just leaving the organisation because of a redundancy programme, and some top people, who've been instrumental in making things work over the last 20 years, like Michel Farah, who's personal assistant to the England manager, are just leaving. So there's a whole revolution going on at the FA. They've taken their eye off the ball, and it is literally chaotic.
Well, now they've got to find a new manager. Who's that man going to be, Mike?
Well, people will laugh and guffaw, but I would say I'd give it to Sam Allardyce, because Sam Allardyce wants it desperately, has wanted it the last 2 or 3 times it's been available. He's proved his mettle time and time again in his terms of resilience and getting the best out of players. So I wouldn't go any further than Sam Allardyce. I can't see any other candidate who fits the bill. I mean, I certainly wouldn't give it to Gareth Southgate. With the greatest respect to Gareth, he struggled, I think, a bit to get things together in the under-21. I know they've had a recent success, but he had to, be reshuffled around the number of teams he was looking after, and I don't think he has got the experience or the wile. Sam Allardyce has got the wile. He's got the ability to make players play, and he tells them what he wants them to do, and they don't get confused like they were clearly very confused last night.
If you go back to the run-in, Sam was ultra confident, wasn't he? No, we'll stay up. I'll keep them up. We'll stay up. I don't know if I got that from Roy, that England were going to go to a final.
I'm sorry, Al.
I was just saying, with the battle for the relegation, who's going to stay up?
Oh, yes.
Sam was ultra confident. I didn't get that confidence. I didn't get that feel from Roy that he honestly believed England could make a semi or a final.
Well, I totally agree with you. The thing is, Roy Hodgson's leaving speech, he tried to make it sound gentlemanly and dignified and, rather regal and all that, but it was a load of utter nonsense going on about this magnificent trip I've been on. Well, the Titanic was a magnificent trip until it hit the iceberg, and then it wasn't much fun floating around in the North Atlantic, and freezing to death. I mean, it was a silly analogy to say it's been a magnificent trip and thank you to all those who've come with me and all that. It was disaster from start to finish.
Mike, just a little bit of breaking news. The FA, you're talking about the FA, they've got to act now. Well, Martin Glenn will hold a press conference today, 4 o'clock. That's just come through. Yeah, well, Mr. Glenn has a lot to answer for, because it was Mr. Glenn who, in the end, decided to extend Roy Hodgson's contract after Brazil. Now, up until this tournament, Brazil was our very, very worst competition. It was our very, very worst tournament. And yet it was Mr. Glenn who was talking tough at the time, saying, well, Roy Hodgson's got to earn his stripes and all that, who then suddenly folded and said, no, we'll give him another 2 years. So the first question I'd ask Mr. Glenn is, why did you make the worst decision that's ever been made about the appointment of an English manager? Was this the worst result England have had in your lifetime yesterday?
Well, not really, because although it looks like it's Iceland on paper and they're a country of 330,000 people, they were a very spirited team. I know the lads were made up of players from Charlton and Swansea and places like that, but they were a very, very spirited team. Whereas when we lost in 1950 to the USA, that was simply because we'd fallen behind the rest of the world in how to play football, how to organise football, how to approach football, and we got turned over because we were ignorant. Last time we got turned over.
Mike, in 1950, Mike, with the utmost respect, the Americans hadn't even seen a football.
Years later, we got turned over, didn't we, by the Hungarians, 9-3, and that was what was waiting to happen.
But they were the best in the world.
How many 3, Mike?
9, wasn't it?
9? Are you serious?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was 9-3.
I don't think it was 9-3. You mean at Wembley?
I mean at Wembley, yeah.
Pushkas, Hideguchi, and all those gentlemen.
I think it was 6-3.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Farrington Pushkas.
Just take a third off that, Mike. Take a third off that, fella, and we're okay.
Right, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it seemed like 9-3 at the time, according to our father, but he's been long gone, I'm afraid.
My father, you actually saw the game.
You were there, don't you were there.
I wasn't there.
You came down from Wrexham on the slow train.
Yeah, well, I am. Listen, I'll tell you what, I'm supporting the Welsh now because it's rain.
Well, we got to.
Before I came on to talk to you, they're part of the United Kingdom, and they'll have my full support.
Absolutely, Mike. And so
even though, Mike, the Welsh team were celebrating, they jumped out of their chairs when Iceland banged in the second. The Welsh squad jumped out of their chairs, punching there as Iceland went 2-1 up. You still going to support them?
Well, I'm not sure that happened, Al, and I think you're trying to Mickey Mouse me again, as you always do.
Alan, Mike, it was the same way that you supported Liverpool when they won the Champions League.
I don't want to get into that.
No, of course you don't. Yeah, exactly.
But I know what you mean. But no, listen, any team watching another team, I mean, in a way, you can take it as a compliment. If other teams
Mike, I think you missed that. Have a listen to this, right? Have a listen to this. This is Iceland putting the ball in the net for the second goal. This is the Welsh squad. From the hotel, the Welsh team hotel.
Yeah. Well, you can hardly blame them. Can you?
What? I thought they were supporting another British team, Mike.
Well, all I'm saying is this. They went to the tournament as the second or third allegedly strongest team from the United Kingdom. They turned out to be the most strongest. They're going to go further than any of the others. I don't blame them for celebrating. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to ignore the fact that England were rubbish and just not pass comment? No, I don't blame the Welsh lads. They're professionals, Ray, like you were, and they feel elated that they've got so far and might go even further.
As a good Englishman, had that been Wales conceding that goal, we'd have sat still and we'd have watched the rest of the match.
Well, you might have done, but I'd have probably been bladderated, so I might have got up and started jumping up and down.
Right, speak to you later, Porky.
Okay, mate.
Cheers, Mike.
Mike Parry just off the train in central London.
He flies every minute of the day, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. He doesn't sleep.
He's on such a high.
I think he sleeps standing up. Honestly, I think he's like that elephant man. If he puts his head down, that's it. It's all over. He sleeps up standing up. 5 minutes to 10.